Welcome to Amazing Dinosaurs. I'm Dave, and this is a collection of Jurassic World T-Rexes versus Steve from Minecraft. Let's first start by unboxing the Steve figurine. And here it is. Steve is wearing the blue pants with a teal colored shirt. And overall, it's a pretty cool figure. You can move the arms up and down. You can move the legs back and forth. You can move the head side to side and even up and down a little bit. And this Steve figure actually has hands, so you can remove this. And then there's a spot to put in some tools. Plus, Steve came with these other accessories that we will check out in a little bit. But first, let's meet our first T-Rex to face off against Steve. This is the super colossal Tyrannosaurus Rex in the custom painting. This is one of my most unique T-Rexes in the collection because it has this fiery styled paint job all over it. Plus, this super colossal figure actually has a stomach compartment all the way down here, so you can actually feed it smaller dinosaurs and it'll be stored in its stomach here. Now then, let's go ahead and face this off against Minecraft Steve. All right, look at that size difference. Steve is way over here. It's a tiny little figurine. I bet he could even fit inside of the T-Rex's mouth. And it's interesting, they both got different color combos going on. Steve is in a more blue and cool colors, whereas the T-Rex is in fiery red tone. The next T-Rex to face off is another custom colored Tyrannosaurus Rex, but this one is in a camouflage green coloring. I think this coloring is way better than the original painting, especially around the face here. Check out those teeth and all the shading around its eyes and the rest of its face. So now let's face this T-Rex off against Minecraft Steve. And as you can see, there's still a huge size difference between the two, although this one is a bit more closer in size than the super colossal one. And this T-Rex actually has a really cool chomping ability that chomps downwards. I don't think you or I or Steve would want to be in the way of those chompers. Our next T-Rex is another green T-Rex, but this is actually the original painting. This is the Legacy Collection Tyrannosaurus Rex. It has a darker green body with some gray and tan detailing along the top of its back, and it has a button at the top of its head for the chomping action. And now let's face that off against Steve. And the T-Rex is still quite a bit larger. You can see that it stands way over Steve's head still, although they're getting closer in size now. What do you think? Would Steve stand a chance in a fight against a T-Rex like this? I think we gotta give Steve some tools, which we'll give him in the next round. I think this next T-Rex is a little bit larger. This is the new 93 Real Feel Jurassic Park Tyrannosaurus Rex. And it's called the Real Feel T-Rex because its skin is actually a soft rubber, unlike most of the figures nowadays, like these ones over here that are hard plastic. Plus, this T-Rex has a stomach compartment as well, so just like the super colossal T-Rex, you can feed this smaller one small dinosaurs. And finally, it's got some sound effects as well. Now it's time to face off against Steve. And yeah, this T-Rex is a whole lot larger than that green one over there was. And just like the super colossal T-Rex, we've got two different styles of coloring. We've got the cool blue coloring over here with Steve and the fiery red coloring over here. Although this one looks a lot more realistic than the custom colored painting over here. Let me know in the comments below, who do you think would win in this fight? But before you comment, I'm going to give Steve a tool here now. And that tool is his mighty sword. And this thing is actually made of metal. So this is actually quite heavy. Whereas the actual Steve figurine over here, I think is entirely made out of plastic. So now let's go ahead and give him the sword. And now Steve is ready to face off with the T-Rex. Comment below, who do you think would win in a battle? The next T-Rex is a very unique one. This is actually a deconstructed Tyrannosaurus Rex. Now this T-Rex is made so that you can actually see the insides of the Tyrannosaurus Rex. You can see some intestines there, there's a bunch of bones, and you can actually lift off the ribs right here to reveal what I think is the stomach underneath. That's pretty crazy looking. So now it is time to face off against Steve. And since this T-Rex can't even stand up, Steve is actually the taller one in this competition. And in fact, it actually looks like Steve already defeated this T-Rex because the T-Rex is already taken apart and totally destroyed. All right, way to go, Steve. Next up is another orange-brown T-Rex here, pretty similar to the deconstructed T-Rex that we saw right here. But obviously this one still has all of its limbs, although you can see quite a bit of battle damage on its tail, on its leg, on its side, and even on its face. So this T-Rex figure is in much better shape than the last. So now it's time for the face-off. Now once again, Steve is way shorter than the T-Rex here. And he's got a sword, but that might not do it. Let's go ahead and add his final accessory, which is this armor plating here. And these are actual real metal. So let's go ahead and add them on. All right, now Steve is armored up and ready for anything. And I gotta say, with all this actual real metal armor plating, Steve is a lot heavier than he was originally. It's pretty cool that they actually used metal for the armoring. And now, who do you think would win in this competition? Steve or the Tyrannosaurus Rex? The next T-Rex is the smallest T-Rex that we've seen yet in this collection. This is a juvenile T-Rex, and it is actually from Jurassic Park. You can see the tattoo on its leg right there. So this figure is quite old. And like many of the old Jurassic Park figures, it has the real feel skin, so it's a soft rubbery skin instead of hard plastic. And it's got a big old battle damage right on its side right there, which is pretty cool. Now it's time to face off the juvenile T-Rex versus Minecraft Steve. But wait, I've actually got a little surprise for you. And that is, I actually bought another set from Minecraft. This is the wolf set from the Diamond Level series. And here is the wolf figurine. It's a bit smaller than Minecraft Steve, but it's still quite posable. You can see that you can move its torso up and down, you can move its tail, and each of its legs individually, as well as its head. Plus, it came with these 4 accessories. First is this extra head that has different eye shapes compared to the original one right here. It also comes with this collar that you can put on the wolf, as well as this piece of meat right here, and a bone. So let's go ahead and set the wolf right next to Steve, and here we are with our face-off. Who do you think would win? Steve and the wolf, or the juvenile T-Rex? This T-Rex here is a similar size as the last, although it's very different in its coloring. And it should be noted that this is actually a model Tyrannosaurus Rex. So it is a hard plastic all over, and it does not move at all. It is stuck in this roaring pose. But it's still pretty cool. It's got some pretty decent coloring. It's got the yellow eyes and then tons of shading along its body as well. So let's face it off against Minecraft Steve. Oh, look at that. They're almost the same in height. The T-Rex is a little bit taller still. And this T-Rex sure looks fierce, but Steve is fully armored up with his sword and with his wolf companion. So comment below, who do you think would win, the T-Rex or Steve and the wolf? Here is one of our final T-Rexes. This one has some cool orange-brown coloring with the black stripes all along its back and on its legs. And like the last figure, this is a model figure, so there are no joints or arms or jaws that move on this figure, but it does have some pretty sizable teeth. And now let's face off against Minecraft Steve. And look at that, Steve is finally taller than one of the T-Rexes here. And not only that, but I think Steve is actually heavier than the T-Rex figure here as well. So now that the sizes are a lot more even, who do you think would win? Comment below. And now here is our final T-Rex, and by far the smallest one. This one is from Jurassic World, and it looks like it's mostly brown in color, but it does have this reflective gold coloring all over its body. Plus, despite how small it is, you can still open and close the mouth. That is pretty cool. Now let's face it off against Minecraft Steve, and look at that size difference. Steve is probably 3 times the size of this Tyrannosaurus Rex, and even the wolf is larger than the T-Rex. It's at least maybe like twice the size of this teeny tiny T-Rex. Now this does not look like a fair fight at all. And here is the figure itself. The Spider-Man figure is pretty tall. It's probably over a foot. It of course has the Spider-Man emblem right on its chest. And it looks like you can move the arms and the elbows back and forth on both sides, which is pretty cool. Check it out. You can see that the figure is posed to shoot web out of its hands. It looks like you can move the head a little bit, although not much. And you can't move the legs up and down or back and forth at all, which is kind of a bummer. In addition, there's some extra costumes and tools in here that we'll be checking out. But first, let's check out some Jurassic World T-Rexes. This first T-Rex is a massive, super colossal, custom painted T-Rex. It's one of my favorite T-Rexes that I have because of how realistic the coloring looks. I especially love how gritty those super dangerous teeth look, as well as the bright red eyes. Now let's compare this figure to the Spider-Man figure. First off, with the size difference, the super colossal T-Rex is definitely a whole lot larger, even though this Spider-Man figure is quite large. And I think that the T-Rex might have even more better detailing than this Spider-Man figure. But wow, I mean, look at the size difference of that. So we're gonna place this T-Rex off to the side here and bring in our next T-Rex, which is actually another super colossal Tyrannosaurus Rex. This figure has a much darker coloring compared to the first T-Rex that we saw, and this one is actually from Jurassic World Dominion. Overall, it looks pretty similar to the first T-Rex, and a really cool thing is that it actually has a stomach compartment, so you can feed it smaller dinosaurs. Now let's compare that against Spider-Man. Once again, the super colossal Tyrannosaurus Rex towers over the Spider-Man figure. And although Spider-Man may be smaller, I still think he might stand a chance in a fight against a T-Rex. Let me know in the comments what you think in a battle between these two. The next T-Rex to face off against Spider-Man is this Hammond Collection T-Rex figure. Because it is part of the Hammond Collection, it's a whole lot more detailed and has better coloring than typical for most of the figures, and it even has these really cool marbled eyes. Now it's time to face it off against Spider-Man, but first, why don't we check out some of these other accessories for Spider-Man? And the first accessory that we're gonna check out is this right here. It may not look like much, but these are actually web blasters. So let's snap these on, just like that, and the other side, and then we'll load it with these web pieces right here. And now Spider-Man has 2 web blasters, 1 on each arm. Let's check out that web shooting in action. All right, it shoots pretty far, probably around 3 or 4 feet, and they are very easy to reload, just like that. So here they are, the Spider-Man figure right next to the Hammond Collection Tyrannosaurus Rex. And it looks like this time, the Spider-Man figure is actually a little bit taller than the T-Rex. Now let me know in the comments below, which of these 2 figures do you like the best? The next T-Rex is this Stomp and Escape T-Rex. It's got the classic brown coloring with some gray detailing along its back, and it has a single massive action button right here on its back for a roaring action. Now let's face the T-Rex off versus Spider-Man. Now look at the size difference between these two. Spider-Man stands way taller, maybe almost 2 times as tall as this T-Rex right here. But now let's see if this web blaster can do any damage against the T-Rex. All right, the T-Rex is unfazed. Next up is an even newer T-Rex from the Dino Trackers series. This T-Rex has a much lighter coloring on its body, especially with this bright tan yellow with the gray striping along the top. And of course, it's got this really cool headpiece. It's like a soft rubber, so it fits on really easily. And it's got an action button on its back for a chomping action. So let's face it off against the Spider-Man figure. Ooh, you know what? This T-Rex is a little bit closer to the same height as Spider-Man. It's getting pretty close again, so Spider-Man better watch out. this is the Terran T-Rex figure. Now this figure has a more gray coloring along its body, but this figure is pretty special because it actually has 2 action buttons on its back. One for swinging the tail, and the other button here for doing a massive tearing action. Now let's bring in Spider-Man to face them off. Now these 2 figures are extremely close in height. There's probably only an inch or 2 difference. Spider-Man's got his web shooters that we've already checked out, but let's see what this tearing action can do against Spider-Man. He can knock him down. That is a massive swinging action. Pretty cool. Next up for the T-Rexes is this brown and orange T-Rex figure right here. I think this came out as part of Fallen Kingdom. And this figure is pretty special because it actually has this reflective pink-red coloring right along the tip of its face. But let's see how it does against Spider-Man. Oh, this figure is quite a bit smaller than Spider-Man right here. And you know what? Let's go ahead and add on some of Spider-Man's accessories. We are going to be putting on this gold and black suit. So let's put on the chest piece, just like that, super easy. And now let's put on the mask right over the red mask. That's interesting. The mask looks a little bit crooked. It actually looks like the plastic is bent a little bit, so his face looks a little crooked. So now it is the black and gold Spider-Man versus the smaller tan and a little bit reflective red T-Rex. Now here I've got an original Jurassic World Tyrannosaurus Rex, meaning it was from the first movie. And that also means that this figure was made by Hasbro and not Mattel, as many of the new figures are. This figure has a few cool features. First off is a stomping sound effect action. You press down on its feet, you can hear that sound effect. And then there is a chomping action, which you can activate by pressing up on the tail. Check that out. Chomps down super fast. Now it's time for the T-Rex and Spider-Man to face off, and the T-Rex looks ready to fight, although the T-Rex is quite a bit smaller than the Spider-Man figure. In fact, this T-Rex is almost small enough that it seems like this Spider-Man figure could almost ride on top of this T-Rex, which would be pretty funny. The next T-Rex is this bright red and black Tyrannosaurus Rex. Now this figure is pretty cool because it is actually custom colored, so you won't see this coloring anywhere else. And it's custom colored to kind of look like flames. And of course it has the button on its head for the chomping action. So now let's face this T-Rex off against the amazing Spider-Man. And check that out, it's almost like they are matching in coloring. They both got the bright red and the black on them. Although the T-Rex has a lot more red on its body than the black and gold version of the Spider-Man does. Next up is this battle damaged Tyrannosaurus Rex figure with the brown coloring and the gray detailing along the top. Now this figure doesn't have an attack button to activate the chomping, but you can just open and close its mouth manually. But it does have a button on its back right here to turn the battle damage on and off. So now let's face this T-Rex off against Spider-Man. Before we do that, let's change Spider-Man to add his final accessories. First up is a new chest piece and a mask that's going to replace the black and gold right here. And then the coolest part, his robotic spider leg. And now here is Spider-Man in his largest form with the robotic spider legs coming right out of his back. Plus there's the new chest piece here with a lot more gold that looks pretty cool, and a new mask that's all red and has larger white eyes. So let's face Spider-Man off against the T-Rex. Now the T-Rex is pretty close to Spider-Man's size, although the T-Rex is a little bit shorter. And it is really cool that this T-Rex has a battle damage button right on its side. But I have to say, these robotic arms that come out of Spider-Man's back are really cool, and I think make Spider-Man the winner in this versus competition. But let me know in the comments, who do you think of these two deserves to win? And now it's time for that surprise I was telling you about. I've actually got an additional Spider-Man figure right here. This is the Infinity Saga Spider-Man from the Civil War era. And here it is. This figure is a whole lot smaller than the other Spider-Man figure. In fact, here is the size difference between the two. This smaller Spider-Man figure doesn't even make it all the way up to his waist. And the larger Spider-Man figure's head might be 5 or 6 times the size of this smaller figure here. But that doesn't make this Spider-Man figure worse, because check out how posable this figure is. You can pose his elbows, his shoulders, his torso, his neck, his knees, his ankles, almost everything like you could in real life. Plus it comes with some accessories that we'll be trying out too in a little bit. Now the first T-Rex to face off with this Spider-Man figure is this hybrid Dilophosaurus figure. And this figure is from the first Jurassic World movie, and it's pretty special. It's got some battle damage on the side, it's got the gold reflective paint on the top, and overall just looks like a crazy amazing T-Rex figure. Now let's face this T-Rex off against the smaller Spider-Man figure. Now it looks like the Spider-Man figure is still standing taller with the Dilophosaurus reaching around his chest. This Spider-Man figure is pretty detailed, which is really cool, as is the Dilophosaurus figure. You can see its skin texturing, you can see that battle damage, and as a bonus it actually has a chomping action. Check that out. The next dinosaur here is the Sound Surge Tyrannosaurus Rex from Jurassic World Dominion. It's got the classic brown coloring with that same gray detailing along its neck, and most importantly it has a button on its back to activate the sound effects. Now let's face this off against the Spider-Man. Right off the bat, you can see that the Sound Surge T-Rex here is quite a bit smaller than this Spider-Man figure. With the way that the T-Rex is currently standing, there's a few inches above, but if you place it down over here, Spider-Man looks to be around the shoulder height of the T-Rex. I will have to say though, the Spider-Man figure is a lot more detailed and intricate because you can pose it in so many different ways and it looks super realistic. Whereas the T-Rex figure here is from the Sound Surge collection, so it's a bit on the cheaper side. There's no button to open and close its mouth, and the painting design is a little bit underwhelming. And here is the last T-Rex of the collection. This is a juvenile T-Rex in the green coloring with the darker green detailing along its back and on its head. Now let's face it off against the Spider-Man figure. Now this juvenile T-Rex is pretty small, so it only comes up to the waist of this smaller Spider-Man figure. Now why don't we go ahead and swap out these accessories on this Spider-Man figure. And here is the Spider-Man with the new accessories added on. Spider-Man's mask is now taken off to reveal Peter Parker underneath, and I swapped out one of his hands to change from a fist into the web slinging action. And here they are side by side once again. I forgot to mention earlier as well that the T-Rex actually has a chomping action, which is pretty cool. And all in all, both of these are really cool figures. My first biggest T-Rex is this super colossal T-Rex from Jurassic World. This T-Rex has a bright orange body with a darker brown top. And just like all my super colossal figures, it can swallow miniature dinosaurs down its throat to the stomach compartment that you can open it up. My next biggest T-Rex is this super colossal Jurassic Park T-Rex. This is actually from Jurassic World Dominion. It has a much darker body. It's got black on top, brown on the sides, and a lighter underbelly. It's got a huge jaw, and this figure can also swallow miniature dinosaurs and open them up in the stomach compartment. Next up, we've got a Jurassic Park T-Rex. I believe this T-Rex was called the Bull T-Rex, and this figure too can swallow miniature dinosaurs and other small stuff, and you can empty it out in the stomach compartment. Right on top here, we've got the Hammond Collection Tyrannosaurus Rex. This figure has some of the coolest coloring out of all the T-Rexes that I have, and it is remarkably adjustable too. You can bend the legs in all different directions, at the knees, at the ankles. You can bend the arms, you can twist the neck, and you can open the mouth, of course. Next, I've got this huge Jurassic World T-Rex with this ginormous head. This figure has the black top and brown sides, just like the super colossal T-Rex from Jurassic World Dominion. And this T-Rex can be controlled by moving the tail around. Back here, we've got, I believe, what is called the Terran T-Rex, or something like that. The special feature on this T-Rex is the tearing action with its mouth. It swings its head around and closes it at the same time. And it's got a secondary action button to swing the tail around, too. This T-Rex, also from Jurassic World, is a stompin' T-Rex. When you twist the tail, it stomps its legs up and down. And it has those cool sound effects too. Plus, as you notice with the cage, it actually breaks free from the cage just by pressing the button on its back. That is pretty cool. Here we've got another Jurassic Park T-Rex. So this is a very old figure. It's got the rubber body, and with this T-Rex figure, you can move the tail to swing the head back and forth. So it's not as advanced as the new Jurassic World T-Rexes, but it's still pretty cool. We've got tons more T-Rexes to go. Let's keep digging. This huge T-Rex with similar coloring as the first super colossal T-Rex that we saw has some pretty cool functions. When you swing the tail, it swings its head back and forth, and it has a roar function when you move the tail, and a chomping action. All just by moving the tail. That is pretty cool. Over here, we've got a darker gray colored T-Rex with some brown on the top. This is also by Jurassic World, and you can twist the neck around, you can open the jaw, there's a button on top, activate the chomping, and you can swivel the tail around and move the legs as well. I think this one's bigger than the rest of them. This T-Rex has one of my favorite functions. It's actually battery operated, so that when you press the button on its tail, it opens its mouth and shakes. It actually has a motor in it to do that, which is pretty cool. Plus, you can move the tail around to swing its neck around to look. That's really cool. This T-Rex was custom colored a long time ago. It's got the bright green on the side, and it's got like camo colors and black all over the rest of its body with the lighter underbelly. And just like that bright orange T-Rex we saw just a second ago, you can control chomping and roaring with this figure just by moving the tail around. Next up, we've got a light brown T-Rex from Jurassic World. This is very similar in function to the darker gray figure that we just saw. It has the chomping button on the top of its head. You can move its neck around, and you can adjust the rest of its body parts too. This is the extreme battle damage T-Rex from Jurassic World. It's got some different patterning along the top of its body compared to the rest of them, but the most important part is the battle damage on both sides that you can press this button up top to turn it on and off. Plus, the rest of the figure is very adjustable as well. Here's another T-Rex with some battle damage on it. It doesn't have the extreme battle damage on the side that you can turn on and off, but it does have these slashes all over its body, even its legs and its tail too. The rest of the figure is very adjustable, and of course, the button at the top of the head for chomping. Next up, we've got another custom colored T-Rex. This one is a super bright red color. It looks kind of like fire in my opinion, and it's got the black on the top and the orange striping right along the sides. And this figure is adjustable just like many of the other figures that I've shown so far too. Next up, we've got another bright orange T-Rex with the brown top. This figure is fully adjustable throughout its body, and it's got the chomp button at the top of its head. Here's one of my favorite T-Rexes. This is a dark green color, and I'm not sure that I have any other green colored T-Rexes in my collection, so this one's pretty special to me. It's also got the black detailing along the top, and its body is fully adjustable with the legs, tail, arms, and neck, and there's the button at the top of its head for chomping. Let's keep going. We still got quite a few T-Rexes to go. This T-Rex is from the old Jurassic World toy line. It's got a rubberized neck, so it's a bit flexible there, as well as the rubberized tail. And it has a chomping action with the tail. Now we're getting down to some slightly smaller T-Rex figures. This is a Jurassic World T-Rex, and it is actually a hybrid. It's got some spikes on the top of its head that you can push down and activate them by pressing the button on its back. Here is another custom colored T-Rex from the old Jurassic World toy line. It is bright red in color with black spots all over and the yellow underbelly, and it also has a chomping action on its back. Here's another similar T-Rex from the old Jurassic World toy line. This T-Rex is light tan in color all over its body. It's a little bit lighter on its belly, and just like the other two that we just saw, it has the chomping action button on its back. All right, this next T-Rex is a little bit smaller. This is a Jurassic Park T-Rex. I believe it's a juvenile T-Rex, and it's actually got some battle damage right on the side. Next up, we've got a new Jurassic World Dominion figure. This, I believe, is the Sound Surge T-Rex. It's pretty small in size, and you have to open and close its jaw manually, but it does come with some awesome sound effects. And we've got some model T-Rexes in here. I'm not sure what brand this is from, and you can't move any of the limbs or the jaw on this figure, but it's got the dark brown coloring. It's got some interesting shading and black stripes all over its body. Here is another dark brown model T-Rex, but on this one you can open and close its jaw. It's also got the black stripes and the lighter underbelly too. Check out that little bit of yellow right there on its nose. It's interesting. Here is a dark green model T-Rex. This one you cannot move any of its body parts, so it is standing in this awesome roaring pose, just like I'm sure you've seen in the movies. Here is a bright orange or red model T-Rex. With this figure you can open and close the jaw, check out all those little teeth, and this figure looks quite a bit more muscular than a lot of the T-Rexes, I will say. Here is a super bright model T-Rex. It's got the bright blue along the top of its body, as well as the gold stripes. It's got a gray underbelly, and some teal coloring right along its face. Here is a darker model T-Rex. I love the attention to detail with the skin. It's like you can see all these little bumps all over its body. It's got the black stripes as well, and on this model you can open and close its mouth. Here is a super striped T-Rex. This has some really bold black stripes right along the top of its body, while the rest of its body is this soft tan or orange color. And it's got some super bright yellow eyes too. And unfortunately, you cannot move any of the body parts on this model. Next up, we've got a light green colored T-Rex with some darker shading and detailing along its body. You can see those bumps right along its spine. And this figure does not have any moving parts either, so it is stuck in this roaring pose. We've got some even smaller T-Rexes in here. Here is a Jurassic World T-Rex that is pretty small. It's probably 7 inches from tail to the nose, and it fits easily in my hand. It's got some battle damage on the side, and the tail controls the jaw and face. We've actually got a few more Jurassic World T-Rexes just like that last one. This first one is actually a hybrid T-Rex. It is a hybrid with a Dilophosaurus, as you can tell by these huge frills in the front. It's still got the battle damage on the side, and it's got this reflective gold along the top of its body and the very front too. And this T-Rex has a bright green body. It's got the battle damage on the side still, and some darker detailing right along its face. This T-Rex figure is from Jurassic Park, so this is a super old figure. It's got some interesting purple detailing along the top. It's got a tan body, and actually, this figure has a unique feature on the leg. You can actually bend it like that, because it is a broken leg for this T-Rex. Right over here, we've got another juvenile T-Rex. This one has a bandage on its leg and the restraint on its mouth, so it can't bite people. It is super bright green with some cool detailing along the back and is very adjustable with all of its limbs too. This baby T-Rex is also from Jurassic World. It is bright green or yellow in color with some detailing along the top, and when you pull down on the tail, it chomps its jaws shut. Alright, we've got some super small T-Rexes in here. I believe this one is from Jurassic World. I'm not sure actually, but they are both brown in color. This one is very adjustable. You can even move the tail around, you can move the legs and open and close the jaw. But this figure doesn't have any moving parts actually. And our last two T-Rexes of this collection from biggest to smallest. We've got a bright blue T-Rex with black stripes and no movable body parts. And this T-Rex here, you can move the legs, you can twist the tail around, and you can open and close the jaw too. let's get started with our first T-Rex. This is the classic Camp Cretaceous T-Rex, and is one of my favorites because of how realistic it looks when you move it. Next, let's grab our first raptor. Let's go with this huge Dino Trackers Endoraptor. This is actually one of the newest and most recent Endoraptor figures that Mattel has released. And there are the first two facing off. Let's get some more. Next up, let's go with the classic Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex figure. This figure is a whole lot darker than the Camp Cretaceous version, and it might actually be a little bit bigger. For our next raptor, why don't we go with this big one right here? I believe that this is Velociraptor Blue, and it actually has some pretty cool action features. You can press down on its body for a chomping action, and you can swivel it side to side as if it's walking. All right, let's set that up right in front of the huge Endoraptor. For our next T-Rex, let's go with the huge Stomp and Escape T-Rex. I think this might actually be from Camp Cretaceous as well. And it's got some pretty cool attack buttons. There's a button on its back for the roaring action. Plus, you can twist the tail for stomp sound effects. Let's see, we've got another big raptor in here. Let's go with this next Endoraptor. This is actually a pretty old figure. This is the Grab and Growl Endoraptor. And it's called that because it has a few features. First, you can use this button to move its arms. There's also a button on the bottom of its tail to chomp the jaw. And you can even use the tail to move the head around too. All right, let's put this one pretty close to the other Endoraptor figure. There, he'll be holding on to this little guy. Back to the T-Rexes. Let's grab this guy and see it is a battle damage T-Rex. Check that out right there on the side with a click of a button. You can reveal the battle damage. Plus, the rest of the body is posable as well. Now let's set this one down right next to the Camp Cretaceous T-Rex. There they are facing off with the raptors. For our next raptor, we're gonna grab this one at the bottom. This is a Utah raptor from Jurassic Park. So this figure is pretty old and actually has a rubber skin texture as opposed to the hard plastic of all the rest of these. And you can even move the claws on its feet up and down. Let's set this one up right next to the Grab and Growl Endoraptor. On to our next T-Rex, we've got a few more huge ones in here. This one, I believe, is from Fallen Kingdom. And this one features a pretty cool chomping action when you move its tail. Check that out just by moving its tail down. And when you move its tail the other way, it actually has a roaring action. Let's see now, let's put this T-Rex right next to the Stomp and Escape. Back to the raptors, let's grab this little one. This is our first Atrociraptor of this collection. And this is actually a Rowdy Roars Atrociraptor. It is actually battery operated, and you can get it to walk around. Plus, it has some chomping and roaring sound effects. We're gonna set this one up towards the front because it is a bit shorter than the rest of them. Our next T-Rex is a battle damage T-Rex. You can see that it has some battle damage slashes on its chin and on its neck and on other parts of its body too. So it is a battle damage T-Rex like this one, but this one you can turn on and off, and this one is just painted on its body. And so we're gonna put it right next to the other battle damage T-Rex. Looks like we've got a few more Endoraptor figures in this collection. This one is from Fallen Kingdom, so it's pretty old, and it doesn't have any action buttons, but its whole body is very posable. So let's get them posed, and let's set them right next to the Utah Raptor. For our next T-Rex, we've got a pretty wildly colored one. This one was actually custom colored. Plus, I believe this T-Rex is from the first Jurassic World movie, so you might have some trouble finding it now. Next, let's grab this Atrociraptor figure in the classic white with brown striping, just like in the movie. And this is a basic figure, so sadly there's no action buttons, but it still looks really cool. Let's set it down right next to the other Atrociraptor. Looks like we got one more big T-Rex here. This T-Rex is also from the first Jurassic World movie, so it is pretty old and probably pretty hard to find. And this version has the tan coloring. It's got some gray detailing along its face and the action button on its back for the jaws. All right, here is our final Indoraptor of the collection, I think. This is the basic version of the Indoraptor, so it's a whole lot less posable than many of these other figures right here. And it might actually be a little bit smaller. All right, it looks like it is in the sneaking pose. Check out that gold stripe that switches to a darker brown gold right along its tail. And let's set this up right beside these Atrociraptor figures. Now let's grab this T-Rex figure. This is actually a model T-Rex figure, not made by Mattel, but it still looks really ferocious, has some really cool texturing and color detailing too. And since it's a little bit smaller, let's set it up on the front lines right in front of the Raptors. Over here, we've got a huge Velociraptor blue figure. And just like this Indoraptor figure that we see right here, this is the basic version of Velociraptor blue. So it's not super posable, but it still looks great. Let's set this up right behind the basic Indoraptor. We've got some crazy looking T-Rexes in here. This figure's a bit smaller than all the rest of the T-Rexes, but it still has some amazing coloring. Check out that texturing and the fading from the yellow to the green. Let's set this one down right behind the first model T-Rex figure. Back to our Raptors, we've got another Velociraptor blue figure, but this one is from the Amber collection, so this one is super posable, and it's even got some glowing gold eyes. That's a really cool feature. So why don't we set this one up right next to the basic Velociraptor blue figure. Look at the differences in the coloring and the texturing compared to the basic version right here. On to our next T-Rex figure. We've got a blue and gold T-Rex figure right here, and it's even got some bright teal coloring right around its eyes too. I think this figure might be the smallest T-Rex yet, so let's set this one up right in front. Let's go ahead and grab these other two Amber collection Velociraptors. There's first Velociraptor Charlie in the bright green coloring with the striping along the top and a headpiece right behind its face. Let's set this raptor down right in front of the Amber collection Velociraptor blue. And then there's Velociraptor Echo in the brown and black coloring with the lighter underbelly. And so let's set this Velociraptor up right in front of the others. Looks like we've got a few small T-Rexes in here. This is an older figure from the first Jurassic World movie. It's got a little battle damage on the side and a tail that controls the mouth. Now this is a little itty bitty T-Rex, so we're gonna put it right up front. And here is our last raptor of this collection. It looks like it's an Atrociraptor in the white with brown striping, just like this basic version right here. And so we're gonna set it up right in front, really close to the other T-Rex. And here is our final dinosaur. This is a green T-Rex from the first Jurassic World movie. Just like the other miniature T-Rex that we see right here, it's got the battle damage on the side, and you can use the tail to open and close the mouth, as well as move the neck. So let's set this down right in front, next to the other T-Rex. But wait, I've actually got a surprise for you. I've actually bought some new stuff to show in this collection. This first one is a custom colored T-Rex that I just ordered off of eBay. This is my first time seeing it, and I love the attention to detail with the coloring. It really looks lifelike. Plus, it looks like there's a whole lot more battle damage than there normally was on this figure. That is really cool. And look at that, there's even some more battle damage on the other side. All right, that is super cool. I definitely want to be getting more custom painted T-Rexes. And let's not forget, for the Raptor side, I just bought an uncaged Rowdy Roars Velociraptor beta figure. Now let's power it up and check it out. Just like the Rowdy Roar figure back there, there's a button at the top of the head. You get some chomping and sound effects. And you can also touch it underneath its chin to make it walk. Let's get started with these super colossal figures. This is the Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex with the dark brown coloring and the black detailing along its body. The other super colossal T-Rex I have selected for this collection is a custom colored one. Check out this light blue coloring and the dark red eyes. And this T-Rex figure is definitely a lot older than the Dominion T-Rex figure. And we're gonna stand them together on the T-Rex side. And now for the I-Rex side. This is the super colossal colossal I-Rex figure. I believe was released as part of Camp Cretaceous. It's got a whole lot more bumps and texturing compared to the T-Rex figures, and I love its teeth. And that figure is gonna go over here on the I-Rex side. And next up, why don't we open up the brand new Dino Trackers Indominus Rex. Now this new I-Rex figure is very interesting. It's actually quite a bit smaller than many of my other I-Rex figures. You can see the barcode scanner right there for the app, so you can check that out on your phone. Of course, it's still got the same coloring and detailing as many of the other I-Rex figures, but this one has a feature that I don't know I've ever seen before. It has the button on its tail to activate the chomping. But check that out, there's some glowing green lights inside. That's pretty cool. So now let's set this on the I-Rex side, right in front of the Super Colossal. Now let's go over here to our bin and grab another T-Rex. We're first gonna go with this one. I believe this is a Camp Cretaceous battle damage T-Rex. They actually released another one for Jurassic World Dominion that's pretty similar, other than it has different coloring. But these figures are pretty cool because they've got the huge battle damage on the side that you can turn on and off with the click of a button. That's pretty cool. And we're gonna place this right underneath the Dominion T-Rex. Now back to the I-Rexes, we're gonna grab this camouflage I-Rex one. This one looks pretty wild. Now this one is actually a custom colored I-Rex. So all this coloring you can see here was done in detail by someone that I bought from on eBay. Even the blood on its mouth too. That's pretty awesome. Now let's find a place for it on the I-Rex side. How about way there in the back? There we go. Now back to the T-Rexes, we're gonna go with this big figure. This is the Terran T-Rex. This Jurassic World T-Rex has the classic brown coloring over most of its body and a slightly lighter underbelly. You can see it's got some hidden battle damage along its face. It looks like those are kind of scars. That's pretty cool. But the special feature of this figure is the button on its back, which causes a huge tearing action. And not only that, but there's another button on its back to swing the tail back and forth too. So now let's set this on the T-Rex side, and we're gonna have it go way in the back over here. And this T-Rex is really face to face with that I-Rex figure. Next, let's grab this huge I-Rex figure right here. This is the Battle Damage Edition I-Rex. Check out the size difference between this one and the Dino Tracker I-Rex that I just bought. This one might be twice the size of that one. And it's still got all the cool texturing and spikes and detailing. Plus it has the battle damage on its side that you can turn on and off. Now let's set this one in the back here, right next to the Super Colossal I-Rex. For the T-Rexes, we're gonna go with the Jurassic World Dominion version. Now this T-Rex figure looks very similar to the Dominion Super Colossal figure right here. You can tell that this was the color theme that they were going for that film. And like many other T-Rex figures, it has the tail that can move the torso around, as well as open and close the jaw. We're gonna put this one right next to the older Super Colossal T-Rex. Let's dive back in here. This other giant T-Rex figure is one of the classic I-Rexes. This Jurassic World figure is pretty similar to the battle damage one way back here, except that it doesn't have the battle damage on the side. Instead, it has a button right on its back used for slashing its claws. Plus, of course, you can use the button on the tail to activate the jaw. And we're gonna set this one right next to the battle damage I-Rex. This is the Stomp and Escape T-Rex from Jurassic World. And this figure's built a little bit differently than a lot of the other T-Rex figures. You can see that its legs actually have different joints, as well as this big joint right in its torso. And I'll show you what that does. So it has this really cool action where it lifts up its head to roar. And the other cool part is that you can actually twist the tail to get stomping action with sound effects. So that's why those weird looking joints are right there. And of course, this T-Rex figure is gonna go on the T-Rex side. This next one is a pretty special I-Rex figure. This is a hybrid edition I-Rex. Now this Jurassic World figure actually came out for the first Jurassic World movie and was made by Hasbro instead of Mattel, who makes many of the newer figures now. It's got some crazy coloring on its arms and its underbelly and feet, and the bright red along its back and its head too. Plus there's a hidden action button on its side that you can press to activate more spikes on its back. So now let's set this on the I-Rex side. right on the front lines. Now right here is that Jurassic World Dominion battle damage T-Rex that I was telling you about earlier. Now let's compare it to the earlier version that they released, and they're pretty similar in shape and size. I wouldn't be surprised if they're actually the exact same figure, but with different coloring. And this Dominion version is a much more like orange-brown coloring over all of its body, but it's still got the battle damage on its side. Now let's set up this T-Rex right next to the others. This next I-Rex figure is pretty unusual actually. It looks totally different than many of the other figures. This figure is still made by Mattel, but I believe it's from the Imaginext line. So it looks to be like a figure for a slightly younger audience. But it has one of the most unique attack actions that I've ever seen. When you move its tail up and down, it actually swings its torso in all sorts of directions. That's pretty cool. That is very unique too. So let's go ahead and set it down on the I-Rex side. This T-Rex figure is another extreme damage T-Rex, but it is not like the others. And that's because it does not have the battle damage opening on the side that you can press a button, but rather it has this painting all over its body for the battle damage. And other than that, it has a very orange coloring with the darker brown on top. And let's set it in the back here next to the Dominion T-Rex. This I-Rex figure is another one made by Hasbro for the first Jurassic World movie. And it sure is quite a bit different. First off, it's got this real feel skin along its neck and on the top of its head. And instead of having a chomping button on its tail, you can actually move its arm to open and close its mouth. And you can kind of tell on its back that it has lights underneath whenever you move its arm, but it's pretty faint, so you can't really tell when it's light out. But nonetheless, let's set it down on the I-Rex side here. For the T-Rex side, we're gonna go with another figure that was released for the first Jurassic World movie, made by Hasbro. This smaller T-Rex figure is a light tan color, much lighter than the Dominion damaged T-Rex back there. And it looks pretty different in design too. It has a much longer head, a smaller body, and it has a single action button on its back for the chomping action. Now this figure is pretty old, so it doesn't work as well, but we're gonna put it right next to the extreme battle damage T-Rex on this side. Up next, we've got the Feeding Frenzy Indominus Rex figure. This figure is a whole lot smaller than a lot of the Indominus Rex figures we've seen so far, but it still has a pretty large face for how small its body is. And it's got some unique special features. First, there's this button on its nose that you can get some sound effects from. Then you can move its tail to open up its mouth. Then you can feed this Indominus Rex by pressing down on its mouth, and it'll chomp its mouth closed. Now let's set this I-Rex right on the front lines against the T-Rexes. This next figure is a classic T-Rex, I think was released for the second Jurassic World movie, which is Fallen Kingdom. It's got the classic brown body with a darker top, and a button at the top of its head for the chomping and roaring action. And we're gonna put this guy right on the edge because we're running out of space for all these T-Rexes. This is the Sound Surge Indominus Rex figure released for Jurassic World Dominion. It's pretty basic in design. It has the same coloring as all the rest, but its one big feature is that it has this speaker on its side and this button on the top for the sound effects. Let's place this dino right behind the Feeding Frenzy I-Rex. And I've actually got the Sound Surge edition for the T-Rex as well. It's actually a little bit smaller than the I-Rex figure, but it still has the button on its top for the sound effect. And we're gonna place this one on the front lines of the T-Rex side. This next figure is an even smaller I-Rex figure. This is from the first Jurassic World movie as well. It has some battle damage on its side that you can open and close, and you can use the tail on this figure to move the head and chomp its mouth. Now let's place this kind of in the back for the I-Rex side. We're getting down to just a few T-Rexes left. This is a Lego T-Rex figure for Jurassic World. It has kind of similar coloring compared to the Jurassic World regular figures with the brown, and it's got some darker brown detailing along its body. So why don't we place this right up front here next to the Sound Surge T-Rex. I've also got the Lego I-Rex figure. This one, interestingly, is actually a similar color to the Lego T-Rex over here instead of the classic gray coloring for the I-Rex. I think that makes it pretty cool. Plus, it has some really cool teeth. They're pretty unique, I think. Check that out compared to the T-Rex over here. And here's the I-Rex's teeth. And our next T-Rex figure is a super small green T-Rex figure from the first Jurassic World movie. It's got a pretty large face for its size. It has some battle damage right on the side of its body, and you can use the tail to chomp the head and move the head back and forth too. Let's set this up right next to the Lego T-Rex. And here is our final I-Rex. This, I believe, is the Bite and Thrash Indominus Rex. Now, similar to this T-Rex that we just saw a moment ago, this one has the battle damage right on the side, and you can use the tail to move the head up and down and chomp the jaws. And we're actually gonna leave this figure right here, right in front of the Lego I-Rex. And here is our final figure of this collection. It is a juvenile T-Rex figure. It has a light green body with a darker brown accenting on its back, and you can use the tail to chomp the mouth open and closed, which is pretty cool considering how small this figure is. Now the full collection is set up. Who do you think would win in this battle? The T-Rexes or the I-Rexes? The first T-Rex to check out is this new 93 collection Real Feel T-Rex. Check that out, it has a rubbery skin and it has a stomach compartment so you can actually feed it smaller dinosaurs. And the prey that it's up against is this brown and blue Triceratops. This figure also comes with sound effects and a head moving action. Now let's move these figures to face off against each other. The Predator and the Prey. The next T-Rex that we're checking out is the new Dino Trackers Tyrannosaurus Rex in this awesome tan coloring with the yellow coloring on the top and the brown striping. Plus it's got this really cool headpiece and it has a chomping action button. And the prey that it's up against is this massive Stegosaurus figure. This one is in the brown, tan, and green coloring, and it has two action buttons. This first button here moves its head up and down, and this second button swings its tail back and forth. So now let's place the T-Rex on the T-Rex side here, and the prey Stegosaurus on the prey side. Next up is the Stomp and Escape T-Rex. This T-Rex has a massive roaring action versus its prey, the Ankylosaurus. This figure's from Jurassic World Dominion. It features the dark orange body with the brown on top and tons of spikes and a tail that controls the head. So now let's get the T-Rex in place and also its prey in place back here. Up next, we've got the new Legacy Collection Dark Green Tyrannosaurus Rex figure with the gray and yellow striping. It features a fully posable body and the button at the top of its head to chomp. And its prey that it's up against is the Kentrosaurus. This figure looks quite a bit like a Stegosaurus, but it has some massive spikes on its back and its tail and coming out of its sides as well. And it also has this torso swinging action that you can activate right on its back. So now let's get the T-Rex in place over here and its prey on this side over here. This next T-Rex is a pretty incredible one. This is a custom colored Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex. Now in this beautiful camouflage color over its whole body, and it still has the battle damage on the side. And its prey that it's up against is this massive Pentaceratops figure. It has a huge frill on its head, and it comes with two action buttons. The first moves its head up and down, and the second swings its torso side to side. So let's place the T-Rex over here as the predator and the Pentaceratops over here as the prey. Our next predator T-Rex is this smaller T-Rex made by Hasbro instead of Mattel. And not only that, but it is a custom colored one. So it is now a bright red T-Rex with some black spots all over its body. And the prey that it is up against is actually another carnivore. This is an Allosaurus figure, and this one comes in the gray and yellow coloring all over its body. So now let's place the T-Rex right over here and the Allosaurus right over here. This next T-Rex is also red, but an even brighter red than the last one that we saw. Plus it has some fiery orange and yellow coming on its sides too. And it has an attack button on its head for chomping and roaring. And here is the prey that it is up against. This is a Spinosaurus in the green coloring on the top and sides. There's some tan, there's some dark orange, and it has some bright yellow eyes. Plus, on this figure, you can move the tail around to control the head and the horns. Now let's place the T-Rex over here on the T-Rex side, and the Spinosaurus over here on the prey side. Now it's time to open up this new figure that I'm sure you saw at the beginning. This is the Chase and Roar Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it transforms too. Let's open it up. And here it is in its T-Rex form. It's got the classic orange coloring, and you can see some of the parts are gonna turn into the car parts. So now let's see it in the transformed version. And here it is in the car version. Looks pretty cool. It's got the classic coloring for the Jurassic Park Jeeps. It's pretty amazing how small it is compared to how big the T-Rex was too. And the prey that the Transformer T-Rex is up against is this Ankylosaurus figure in the green, gray, and lighter gray coloring. And it has an action button on its back to swing the tail back and forth. So now we're gonna place the Transformer T-Rex / Jeep right here on the T-Rex side, and the Ankylosaurus over here on the prey side. This next T-Rex is the Camp Cretaceous Epic Roarin' T-Rex, one of my favorite. It has the light tan coloring on the sides, a little bit darker on the top, but the best part is this tail and button on the tail that you can move around to control the head in a really lifelike way. And that T-Rex is going up against this Iguanodon figure from Jurassic World Dominion. It has the light yellow tan coloring with the brown detailing on its body, and an attack action when you press down on its body. So now let's place the T-Rex way back here on the T-Rex side, and the Iguanodon right back here next to the Pentaceratops. This figure is also from Jurassic World Dominion, and it is the classic T-Rex figure with the new dark brown coloring and the black on top. And it has an action button and a swivel action on its tail, so you can control this figure's torso and its jaw. And up against that T-Rex is this Rajasaurus figure, also a carnivore, but a whole lot smaller. It comes in the dark blue coloring with the gray detailing and the purple spikes on top, and an attack action when you press down on its body. So let's put the T-Rex way back here on the T-Rex side, and the Rajasaurus over here on the prey side. The next T-Rex is another massive one. This is the Hammond Collection T-Rex. It has some of the best painting and detailing on its body, and it has some really cool yellow marbled eyes too. And up against that T-Rex is the Ouranosaurus figure. I think this is from Camp Cretaceous. It has a dark green body with some yellow detailing and some orange underneath its chin, and a little bit of blue on its mouth too. Plus it has an action button on its side that you can move for sound effects and head movement. Now let's put the Hammond T-Rex over here on the second row, and the Ouranosaurus right next to the Rajasaurus. This next T-Rex is another Legacy Collection T-Rex in the dark green coloring, but it's a bit different from the one that I showed you earlier because it only has the black spots on the top, but it still has the really cool button on the top of its head for the chomping and roaring. And the prey that it's up against is this Scorpionator figure from Jurassic World Dominion. It's got a brown coloring over its whole body. It looks like it almost has scales on its skin, and some orange detailing along the top, and some bright orange eyes. Plus, it has an attack action when you press down on its body. So we're gonna place this T-Rex right here next to the Hammond Collection T-Rex, and the Scorpionator over here on the other side, right next to the Ankylosaurus. Next up is another brand new figure to my collection. This is the T-Rex collectible from the Noble Collection. So this is a multi-piece collector's edition. You can actually place the T-Rex in the display right here. Got the awesome banner right on the side, just like in the first movie. And then it also comes with this nice little protective case that you can put right over the T-Rex, and it has a little background as well. And the prey that collector's T-Rex is up against is this Parasaurolophus from Jurassic World Dominion. It's got some really cool blue and orange detailing, and the blue right along the top of its head too. So now let's place this collector's T-Rex right here in the back, right next to the Transformers T-Rex Jeep, and the Parasaurolophus right in front here next to the Scorpiovinator. And last of all, we've got the massive Terran T-Rex figure. This T-Rex has the gray-brown coloring on the sides, a darker brown along the top, and the lighter underbelly. But best of all, it has these two massive action buttons on its back. One activates the tearing action, and the other button activates a huge tail swinging action. And the final prey for this Versus collection is this Pachycephalosaurus. It has a pale purple coloring and some darker purple detailing along its back and along the side of its face too. Plus, there's an attack action that when you press down on the tail, it activates its headbutting action. Now let's go ahead and place this Terran T-Rex way in the back over here, and this Pachycephalosaurus right in front of the Tyrannosaurus. First, let's check out the T-Rexes that are already set up. This first one is my oldest super colossal T-Rex figure. It is a custom colored green camo T-Rex. And best of all, it's even got some battle damage painted all over its body. On the right side is another super colossal T-Rex. This one is custom colored a gray-blue color. You can see that it has the battle damage on its body, but it is not painted. And the coolest part of this figure is its bright red eyes and its dark gray teeth. The next T-Rex figure on this face-off is the new Dino Trackers T-Rex. This T-Rex comes in the brand new tan coloring with the yellow and gray detailing on the top. It's got the headpiece and an attack feature. Now let's set this one up on the left side right here, right under the super colossal T-Rex. The next T-Rex is the new Legacy Collection T-Rex in the dark green coloring. It's got some gray and yellow too, and it has the button at the top of its head for the chomping action. And we're gonna put this figure on the right side underneath this super colossal figure. This next figure is the Hammond Collection T-Rex. This is one of my most detailed and posable T-Rex figures. It's got an amazingly detailed face. It even has some rubber on the inside of its mouth for added realism. And the dark speckled paint job over its whole body is a really nice feature. So let's add this to the left side. Next up is the brand new 93 Jurassic Park edition red T-Rex. Aside from its really cool coloring and its soft skin, this T-Rex actually has a pretty unique feature for these smaller dinosaurs. It actually has a stomach compartment so that you can feed it smaller dinosaurs. And for the most part, all these other smaller dinosaurs don't have that feature. That's pretty cool. And we're gonna put this one on the right side. The next awesome T-Rex figure from Jurassic World is this Battle Damage T-Rex. This one comes in the orange and brown coloring. As you can see, it has battle damage painted on its tail, its leg, its body, and a little bit on its face. And of course, it has the button at the top of its head for the chomping action too. All right, let's go ahead and put this on the left side over here. Now here's a bigger T-Rex figure. This one is the Jurassic World Dominion figure. And as you can tell, compared to the Legacy Collection, at least right here, this Dominion T-Rex is quite a bit larger. It comes in the dark brown coloring with the black detailing on top, and you can use the tail to wiggle the torso back and forth and open and close the mouth. All right, let's put this one on the right side. All right, next up is another Legacy Collection T-Rex. Although this one is a little bit older than this one. I bought this one very recently, and this one was released quite a long time ago. But it also comes in a dark green coloring with some black detailing on the top. I'd say it's around the same size as the new Legacy Collection figure. And of course, it has the chomping button at the top of its head. Now let's put this figure right here on the front of the left side. Here we've got a very classic looking T-Rex. I think this one might be from Camp Cretaceous, but either way it's from one of the Jurassic World series. This dinosaur is in the soft brown coloring with a little bit of darker coloring along the top and the button on the head for chomping. Now let's put this T-Rex on the right side. Let's see if we can sneak it right next to the Legacy Collection right there. This huge orange T-Rex, I believe, is from the Fallen Kingdom era. And I think is a little bit larger than many of the other figures. At least its torso is bigger. And this T-Rex actually has some pretty unique features. You can use the tail when you press it upwards, it has a chomping action. And when you press the tail downward, it has a roaring pose. That's pretty awesome and pretty unique, and we're gonna put this one on the left side over here. For the right side, we've got another of that same T-Rex over here, but this one is actually a custom colored version of it. So it has the same chomping action and roaring action, but as you can see, it has this really awesome custom camo painting over its whole body. This figure is definitely one of my favorites, and we're gonna place it on the right side right here. This next Jurassic World T-Rex is an Extreme Battle Damage Edition T-Rex. It has some pretty normal coloring with the brown and a little bit of gray detailing on top, but of course the battle damage on the side that you can turn on and off. So it blends right in, and then you can show the battle damage when you want to. Now let's go ahead and put this T-Rex on the left side. For the next T-Rex, I've got this super old Jurassic Park T-Rex. This is the JP29 T-Rex. It also has the real feel skin, and a feature that when you move its tail back and forth, it actually moves its torso too, although it's a little bit old, so it doesn't work quite as well. And we're gonna set this super vintage T-Rex right in the front here, because sadly this is the only way it can sit up now. Here's another pretty rare and vintage T-Rex, although not quite as old as that T-Rex right there. I believe this T-Rex is from the first Jurassic World movie. This Jurassic World T-Rex is actually a hybrid T-Rex. So it looks mostly like a T-Rex, but when you press this button on its back, some spikes pop out of its back and the top of its head. And that is definitely not normal for a T-Rex. Now let's go ahead and put this on the left side right here. For the right side, I've got another bright orange T-Rex with the darker coloring along the top. It features a fully posable body and the button at the top of its head for chomping and roaring. And we're gonna put this one on the right side, way in the back over here. Next up from the Camp Cretaceous toy line is the Epic Roarin' T-Rex, one of my favorite T-Rex figures. It has the brown body and a tail that controls the neck and head, and the jaw chomping too. Now let's put this over on the left side, right behind this super old T-Rex right here. Next for the right side is this Stomp and Escape T-Rex. It has some pretty normal coloring with the brown and some gray detailing, and it has this huge action button on its back for a massive roaring action. All right, now let's put this over on the right side. This is another custom colored camouflage T-Rex figure, but this one is a bit cooler because it is actually also a battle damage T-Rex. So it features a fully posable body, you can move the head around, you can pose the mouth however you want, and it has the battle damage that you can turn on and off as you choose. Now let's put this on the left side over here, way in the back. Here is another bright orange T-Rex. I think we actually have another one of these already. So it has all the same features and the jaw chomping action. So I'm gonna put this one on the right side, right next to the other orange one. This Jurassic World T-Rex is the Terran T-Rex. And it's called that because it has two buttons on its back for the special feature. The first is a massive tearing action where it swings its whole neck around and closes its mouth. And the second button on its back activates a huge tail swinging action. All right, now let's put this one on the left side next to the Camo T-Rex. Here's another pretty old figure from the first Jurassic World movie. This is a custom colored T-Rex that actually used to be pretty similar to this one, but it was tan in color. But you can tell that they're kind of the same body size and shape. And this T-Rex, since it's not a hybrid, does not have spikes coming out of its back, but there is an action button for some jaw chomping action. Let's go ahead and settle this T-Rex down right on the right side here. And you know what? Here is that T-Rex that I was just talking about. This T-Rex used to be this one in coloring. You can see that they're the same size, but I got it custom colored, so it's bright red, and here's the original version in tan coloring. And now we're gonna put this one on the left side next to the hybrid T-Rex right here. Up next is another vintage Jurassic Park T-Rex. This is a juvenile T-Rex, and it has some massive battle damage right on its side. Let's go ahead and set this one down on the right side here. This next T-Rex is the Sound Surge T-Rex. This came out for Jurassic World Dominion, so it's pretty small. You can still open and close its mouth, and it has one button for the sound effects. And we're gonna place this T-Rex on the left side, right over here. Next up, I've got a pretty special one. It comes in an egg and is from Jurassic Park. This is a baby T-Rex figure right here. This one's pretty cool because it's got the marbled eyes, and you can tell it actually has a bandage on its leg too. All right, now we're gonna put this one on the right side. We're just gonna nestle it back way in there. This next Jurassic World figure is a pretty funky one. This is a Gujitsu Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. So it is made of a really gooey substance. Most of its body is like rubber almost. And on the inside of its body, if I can squeeze it hard enough, you can actually see that there are some bones. It must be digesting something inside of its stomach. So let's put this one on the left side right here. This next figure is the Funko Pop Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex. You can see it comes on a stand. It has the huge classic head and the black eyes. And we're gonna put this one on the right side here. Next up is a small, kind of cute looking T-Rex. I think this one might be from Camp Cretaceous. It has the bright orange body and actually a little spinning dial on its back here for the chomping action. All right, let's put this one on the left side here. I've got a smaller T-Rex here. This one is another vintage Jurassic Park T-Rex. It is a juvenile T-Rex with a broken bone feature right there. You can see that you can kind of bend its leg off. Plus, it's pretty unique in coloring. It's almost like a purple color with the brown on the sides. So now let's put this on the right side here. And finally, and even smaller, is this juvenile T-Rex in the bright green coloring with some dark green on the top and on the leg. And it has an action that when you press down on its tail, it chomps its jaw shut. And I believe that this baby T-Rex actually came as a set with this Legacy Collection T-Rex. So we're gonna put them side by side. Now, which team of T-Rexes do you think would win in a battle? The left side or the right side? Let me know in the comments below. All right, here is the Hammond Collection Tyrannosaurus Rex. Let's check out the features of this dinosaur. So right off the bat, I noticed that it is a lot more adjustable than a lot of the other T-Rex figures. Like many of the other Hammond Collection figures, you see that it has many points of articulation. You can adjust the legs, the knees, the ankles, even at the arms, you can bend at the elbow too. You can also twist the torso and the neck, so you can move its whole body back and forth like that. And the tail actually has 2 points of articulation. And let's see the face. So it's got some pretty cool coloring. When you open its mouth up, you see that it actually has these rubbery flaps on the outside, so it feels a lot more lifelike. As well as the tongue is a soft rubber. And the eyes are actually like a marble substance, so it's clear, and then you can see the pupil inside. So the eyeballs aren't just painted on, those are actual like plastic eyes. And detail-wise with the coloring, obviously you can see it is a lot more detailed than the usual T-Rex figures from Jurassic World. The body has a more reflective, a very plasticky looking color to it, whereas the face has a much more matte finish, which I really like. Next up, we've got some huge super colossal T-Rex figures. This is an orange T-Rex with a brown top. All these super colossal T-Rexes are the exact same size. And they all come with the stomach compartment, so you can actually feed them miniature dinosaurs down the throat, and you can empty it out in the stomach compartment at the bottom. The next super colossal figure, I believe, was custom painted a long time ago. This T-Rex is a dark green color with the black detailing on the top. You can see it's even got some battle damage on its neck too, which I think is really cool. None of my other super colossal figures have battle damage like that. And it's got the white underbelly. It actually comes with some sound effects too, that when you open the mouth all the way, it's pretty quiet. But it actually roars too, which is different. I don't think any of my other super colossal figures have roar sound effects built into them. So that's pretty cool. The next super colossal figure is a bright red. This is probably one of the most evil looking super colossal figures that I have. Just look at those white eyes. There's actually no pupils painted in, so I think it makes it look a lot more evil. But check out this custom coloring. It's a super bright red body, kind of looks like fire in a way. It's got the yellow striping right along the black. This is probably my most unique looking super colossal figure. This one is really cool. And the last super colossal figure that I have is the Jurassic Park Dominion figure. This one came out pretty recently, actually. It's got the dark brown body with the black on the top and the light underbelly. And all in all, it's about the same as the other super colossal figures in terms of movement and articulation. But this is a super cool, darker looking T-Rex, and I'm super excited to see what super colossal figures they come out with next. Next up, we've got a orange T-Rex with battle damage all over its body. Look at the slashes on its tail, its leg, its torso, and some on its nose too. And this T-Rex is very adjustable actually. You can move the neck, you can move the legs and the tail, and it is quite posable. Plus, it's got an action button on the top of its head for the roaring. This is an old Jurassic Park figure. This T-Rex has a light underbelly and a camouflaged green top. That's pretty cool. Like many of the Jurassic Park figures, its body is mostly rubber. It's got hard plastic legs. And with this figure, you can use the tail to swing the head back and forth. Next up, we've got a Jurassic World Tyrannosaurus Rex. This has the classic light brown body with the lighter underbelly and dark brown top, and this T-Rex has a chomping action using the button on its tail. That's a pretty cool motorized function that goes with the sound effects. This one is another old Jurassic Park figure. This is a miniature T-Rex with battle damage on the side. And once again, it's got that soft rubbery body and the hard plastic legs and arms. Way in the back here is another Jurassic Park figure with the rubber body and the hard plastic legs and arms. And this T-Rex actually has a stomach compartment too. So you can actually feed this T-Rex smaller dinosaurs. I think it originally came with a specific thing that you could feed it and it would swallow it all the way down to its stomach. But you can still fit other smaller dinosaurs in here too. Right over here is another Jurassic Park figure. This is actually the same model as the one we just saw, but it is custom colored. Check out that super bright orange head and lighter green on top, and it fades down to a darker green on the bottom. And just like the other one, this has a stomach compartment as well. So you can feed this one miniature dinosaurs. It's got a whole lot of teeth too, and they're very brightly colored. This is another Jurassic World figure, and this one actually has a few different features. First of all, you can see that this figure has a button on its foot that activates stomping sound effects. I think the batteries are out in this figure. But it also has the tail control, so that when you move the tail, it moves its head around, chomps, and it roars too. Here we've got an old Jurassic World figure. This might be one of the oldest Jurassic World figures that I have. And it's very different from many of the other Jurassic World Tyrannosaurus Rexes that I have. You can see that it has a rubberized neck for flexibility, and the main feature on this T-Rex is that you can cock it up into a roaring position, and then when you activate the tail, it swings its head down for chomping. Here is the new Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex. This one also came out pretty recently this year. You can see it's got the darker body with the black and the dark brown on the sides and the lighter underbelly. And this figure has a much bigger neck and head than many of the other T-Rexes that I have, which I find pretty interesting. It's a pretty big difference. And this T-Rex also has the action button for roaring, and you can control its head too. You can hear that the sound effects are kind of messed up, so I'm not sure what happened. I don't know if it's just this figure or if it happened in a lot of the figures, but the sound effects are a little bit broken in this one. Next up, we've got an old Jurassic World figure. This is a smaller T-Rex, a bit smaller than most of the other T-Rexes in here, but it's still got the adjustable arms and legs, and its whole body is actually a very hard plastic. This T-Rex has one action button on its back for the chomping and roaring. Here's another T-Rex with the super cool camouflage coloring. It's got the bright green on the sides, and then brown, black, and a little bit of green all over the rest of its body. This T-Rex figure also has the foot stomping action, and I believe there's batteries in this one. So you can hear those stomping sound effects. And just like the other one that had the button on its foot, you can control the tail for roars and for chomps too. Next up is a more recent Jurassic World Tyrannosaurus Rex. This figure actually comes with a head cage that you can place on it and lock it in. And this figure is actually designed to break free from that cage using the action button on its back. Let's check it out. Plus, this figure has a foot stomp action when you twist the tail. Here's another old Jurassic Park figure with the rubber body and the hard plastic legs and arms. The coloring on this figure is a bit more unique. It's got a dark red maroon color with the black spots. And this figure has a function that when you squeeze the stomach, it opens and closes its mouth. And it doesn't work too well anymore because it's super old, but you can see that it used to be able to do that. Right over here, we've got another pretty uniquely colored Tyrannosaurus Rex figure from Jurassic World. This one is dark green with black detailing on the top, and it's got the light underbelly as well. And this figure is pretty posable too. You can move the neck around to look in any direction, you can move the legs and arms and the tail. And it's got the button on the top of its head to open and close its jaws. Now this T-Rex has a pretty unique action. I don't think I have any other figures that do something quite like this. Check it out. When you press this action button on its back, it actually does a tearing action. Twists its neck to the side and backwards as if it's tearing off a huge piece of meat. There's also a second action button to control the tail too. That is pretty cool. I do like how unique this action is. Down here, we've got a smaller model T-Rex. You can open and close the jaw on this figure. The rest of its limbs are stuck in place though, but I do love the coloring on this one. It's like an orange-red color with black detailing, and it is pretty detailed all throughout its body. Here we've got another old Jurassic World figure, and this is actually a hybrid Tyrannosaurus. I believe it is a hybrid with a Dilophosaurus. You can tell by those huge frills right in front of its face. And on this figure, you can wiggle the tail around to control the mouth and the neck too. Over here is another Jurassic World figure. This figure is light brown on the bottom sides and has the dark brown on the top and is pretty adjustable just like many of the other T-Rex figures. And of course, you've got the button at the top of its head for opening its jaw. Next up is another model Tyrannosaurus Rex. I can't remember which brand made this one. And like many of the other model T-Rexes that I have, you can open and close the jaw, but the other limbs are stuck in place. And this T-Rex is in a standing roaring pose, it looks like. Here is another old Jurassic World Tyrannosaurus Rex. This one is also a hybrid, as you can see from these spines on its back. T-Rexes definitely don't have those normally. So you can actually hide those spines by pressing it down into the body and then using the action button to have them pop out. Plus, that same button actually operates the jaw too. Next up, we've got a pretty unique looking Tyrannosaurus model. This has the black stripes on the top with an orange-brown on the sides and a lighter underbelly. And on this figure, you actually can't move anything, not even the jaw. I'd say the most prominent feature of this model is the bright eyes. Back here, we've got another Jurassic World figure, but this one is another custom colored T-Rex. This looks a lot like the super colossal one that I showed you earlier. It's got the bright red, looks kind of like flames, and the black on the top. And check out those eyes too. These don't have pupils either, which makes it look a lot more evil, I think. This is a light green model T-Rex. This one also does not have any movable parts and is actually like a bit softer of plastic than most of the figures that I have. This is the Jurassic World T-Rex with extreme battle damage. Using the action button on its back, you can actually turn the battle damage on and off just with the click of that button. And the rest of the T-Rex is fully posable as well. You can move the neck, you can keep the mouth open, you can adjust the arms, the legs, and the tail too. This is a smaller T-Rex figure. It's got the light brown and dark brown striping. It's got a little battle damage along its side. And this figure is also in a standing roaring pose. This next model T-Rex is a darker green color with black striping and a lighter underbelly. And on this model, you can open and close the jaw. And it's got a mouth full of teeth right there. Next up, another Jurassic World T-Rex. This one is a dark gray brown color with a darker brown on the top and is adjustable just like the other Jurassic World T-Rexes with the legs, the arms, the tail, and the neck too. This model T-Rex is in a standing roar pose and is also a dark green color with a little bit of black striping. It's very subtle throughout its body. It's also got the light underbelly and a bright pink mouth. This is an old Jurassic World figure. I've actually got another one that's pretty similar to it, but with different coloring. Both of these T-Rexes have the battle damage on the side and have adjustable arms and legs. And with both, you can use the tail to control the neck and the jaw. Just a few more left. Here is a pretty uniquely colored Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's got the yellow and green all over its body. You can see all those individual scales, which I think is really cool. And it's got some intricate detailing right along its eyes. It's almost like a crown or something like that. And you can open and close the jaw on this T-Rex too. And we've got a few more smaller T-Rex figures. This first one is a Jurassic World figure. It's a baby T-Rex. It's got an action with its tail used to open and close its jaw. And this other figure, I'm not sure which brand made this one, but it is in a standing roar pose as well. And you can open and close the jaw. And these are the last two T-Rexes of the bin. The first one is a yellow tan color with a darker green and a little bit of gray on the top. And this other T-Rex is the classic brown-orange color. Both of these have articulated tails, so you can actually move them in a bunch of different directions. And you can adjust the legs on both as well, and even open and close the jaws.
Want to see more dino videos? Click the subscribe button now.